sergeant's daughter. Rumors in the village. This morning, the town market buzzed with worried whispers instead of the usual cheerful chatter. Elora walked toward the family warehouse, but she noticed how people huddled in tight groups. Their voices were quiet and their faces were creased with concern. She approached her favorite bread stall. "Good morning, Mrs. Petrovna," Elora offered, but she couldn't help but overhear fragments of conversations that made her pause. "The biggest claw marks I've ever seen. Heard it roaring in the hills last night. It must be a kind of monster." Mrs. Petrovna, the baker, who had known Elora since she was small, beckoned her closer. Her usually jolly face showed worry as she wrapped Elora's daily loaf in brown paper. "Have you heard about Henrik's farm?" Mrs. Petrovna asked, leaning over the counter. 3 sheep disappeared 2 nights ago. He says he found enormous claw marks in the dirt, bigger than any bear's. And the roaring, child. He swears he heard terrible roaring from the hills. Elora's hands tightened around the bread. Her mind argued within herself. She had seen the shadow on the hill. She and the weaver had heard the deep rumbling. But then she remembered the strange flower on her doorstep, its petals still glowing in the vase beside her brother's portrait. It didn't make sense. Remembering the strange calm that she felt the night before. "Is Henry sure it was roaring?" she asked carefully. Sometimes the wind in the hills can sound strange. She carefully kept her own experiences of the evening before to herself. "Oh, it was no wind," interrupted Mr. Volkov, the butcher from the next stall. "My cousin's boy saw a huge shadow pass over the moon last night. The size of 3 fishing boats," he said. "The village council is already talking about organizing a hunting party." Elora's heart skipped a beat. A hunting party? She remembered her father's word about gentle hearts and fierce dragons. She also thought of wolves and other forest beasts. Elora's mind raced with possible answers. Remember last year everyone was certain a thief had taken Mr. Fendrill's cows? Then we found out that the son had left the gate unlocked. There are certainly animals in the forest, but I think I'll visit Henrik's farm myself, she said firmly. "We shouldn't be too hasty," she said bravely, but she wondered whether she should go alone. Maybe the uncertainty Elora felt was written in her face. Mrs. Petrovna touched her arm. "Be careful, dear. Your father wouldn't want you taking unnecessary risks." "Thank you, Mrs. Petrovna. But my father also taught me to look for truth before jumping to conclusions," Elora replied with a small smile, her desire to be brave masking the uneasy fluttering in her stomach. "Your father was such a good man. But do be careful," she exclaimed as Elora wrapped and carefully stored the bread in her cloth satchel. It was early afternoon before Elora was able to make the journey to Henrik's farm. The walk took her past fields of harvested wheat. The stalks were bundled and stood ready to pick up. They were golden in the autumn sunlight. She found Henrik by his sheep pen, reinforcing the fence and the thick wooden posts. His weathered face was etched with exhaustion. "Henrik," she called softly, "I heard about your sheep. Would you show me where you found the claw marks?" "It's horrible," he proclaimed. The look on his face was anything but pleasant. He hesitated, then nodded. His face softened just a little as he led her to a muddy patch behind the pen. "There," he pointed. "Look at the size of them. And over there," he moved toward the fence. "Something big pushed these posts right over." Elora crouched. Her eyes narrowed as she examined the tracks. They were enormous, with deep grooves gouged into the mud. But something about them felt wrong. The spacing was strange, uneven, as though whatever made them was limping or perhaps dragging something. Near the edges of the larger prints, faint impressions trailed off. She leaned closer. Were those smaller tracks layered beneath, as if something lighter had scurried through? "What did you actually hear last night?" she asked, standing up and brushing dirt from her skirt. Henrik wrapped his arms around himself, though the day had already started warming. "It was past midnight. First, I heard the sheep's warning bells. Then I heard a horrible roaring from the hills. And when I ran out with my lantern, I saw something massive moving against the stars. It was darker than the night itself, with eyes that gleamed like wildfire." Elora recalled what she had observed a few days before when her brother had begun his merchant journey. But it did not seem threatening. She nodded thoughtfully. "But did you actually see it attack the sheep?" "Well, no," Henrik admitted. "But what else could have done this?" Before Elora could answer, voices called from the road. A group of villagers was gathering, some carrying hunting spears, some carried their farmers' hand tools. Most were just following and unprepared for any danger. Her stomach tightened at the sight. This could easily become a disaster. "We're organizing a search party," bellowed Ivan, the miller's son. Looking at the grooves in the mud, he exclaimed, "We'll find the beast before it kills again." Elora had grown up with Ivan. He was a massive young man, known to move the community millstone by himself. Ivan was well liked, but was also known to take action before he knew the best course. Elora looked back at the mysterious tracks, then up at the hills where she'd seen the swift moving shadow days before. Something wasn't adding up. The feeling she had felt the night before did not seem violent. "Ivan, wait," Elora called out, stepping forward. "Look at these tracks more carefully. Something's not right about them." "Not right?" Ivan's voice grew louder. 3 sheep are gone, Elora. What more proof do you need?" "Remember last spring, when everyone was certain wolves had taken Widow Petrova's goat?" Elora pressed. "But we found them trapped in the old quarry. Father always taught us to look for the whole truth before acting." "This is different," Henrik interrupted. "I heard the roaring myself." "Then let me look for more signs first," Elora insisted. "Just give me until tomorrow. We could be missing something important." Ivan shook his head, his expression softening slightly at the mention of her father, but remaining determined. "We can't wait. What if it attacks someone's children next? Sometimes you just have to act, Elora." Looking at the mysterious tracks again, then up the hills where she'd seen the swift moving shadows days before, Elora knew something wasn't adding up. The feeling she had felt the night before did not seem violent. She had to find proof before anyone got hurt, whether it was a villager or an innocent creature being blamed for something it hadn't done. "I need to get more evidence," she thought to herself, her father's words echoing in her mind. Even the gentlest hearts can calm the fiercest dragon. But first, she had to delay this rising panic and then discover what was really happening in those hills. Walking over to her large friend, "Ivan, my dear friend," Elora spoke kindly but with sincerity. She grabbed his arm warmly. "Look at the sun. It's nearly going down. This is a ghastly time to begin hunting. You know that. Besides, it will be cold tonight, and none of us have even a light kaftan to stay warm. Let's return to our homes, secure up our animals, and prepare for an adventure tomorrow." She gave Ivan a simple hug on his arm. Elora's gentle manner and wisdom calmed the stirred group. Mumbled Ivan. "Elora's right. We should protect our animals. but let's meet at the tavern to plan our game." The small group of followers grumbled, but slowly turned and paraded back toward the village. "I'll meet you there as soon as I repair my fence," called Henrik. Elora knew the wisdom of the tavern was usually built on the foam of pints of beer. She didn't have much time. The sun was already slipping lower in the sky. If she was going to find answers, she would need to hurry. The hunting party wouldn't wait forever, and it was likely to be more unruly in the morning. She had a growing suspicion that they were preparing to hunt the wrong